Hello, and welcome to the No Matter What Club podcast. In this episode, we want to welcome our Chief Clinical Officer and our favorite ally, Jessica Steinman. Jessica is a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified sex addiction therapist. She works with individuals, adults, couples, and families. Jessica has vast knowledge of many facets of mental health issues, but her passion for addiction has been a focus of hers for over a decade, especially with sex and love addiction and sexualized drug use. Jessica trained at the Maple Counseling Center in Beverly Hills and Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, and she received her master's in marriage and family therapy from Pacific Oaks College in Pasadena. Please help me welcome Jessica to the show. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the No Matter What Club. I am thrilled to be here with everyone in the room today. Obviously, we have our regulars, my husband, the other owner of No Matter What Recovery. We have our wonderful executive director, the Mell
Hello.
sitting right here, and our chief clinical officer, No Matter What Recovery's favorite
First time
ally.
on the show.
Yes.
First time caller.
Hello, Carla.
Hello, caller. Hold caller. That's what I say to Paulo.
Please welcome the Jessica Steinman.
Yay.
Gosh, this has been a long time coming.
I know.
Hiding you.
I've been hidden away.
I'm laughing over here because when you were doing the introduction and the three of us are like, yeah, and I look over at Jessica and she's like this. Oh my God, it's a show. Lights, cameras.
Well, lock
I do
in.
like a light and a camera.
Well, lock in because we're about to go on a really great
We're on
ride.
a road. Okay.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
All right.
So
let's do
welcome.
it.
So, Jessica not only is the chief clinical officer of No Matter What Recovery and No Matter What Recovery Detox, she is a friend, she is an ally to the community, and a very dear friend of all of us in this room. And we are privileged and honored to have you on the podcast so that you can share your experience, strength, and
Glad to
hope.
be here.
So diving right in, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are?
Sure. So hi, my name's Jessica Steinman. I've been a therapist for almost 10 years, and I've known you guys for 5 of those.
5 of those.
And so I've been working in treatment for 8 of those years, and I sort of fell into working with addicts. I needed a job that had a definite salary because people were canceling in my private practice, and I went to a detox and started working there and had no idea what I was doing. And I was in early recovery because I myself am a recovering sex and love addict. So 12 years. And
Yes, 12 years.
so I didn't know what I was doing, and I learned on the fly how to do that, and it just kept growing, and I fell in love with working in recovery and with specifically substance use addicts and then sex and love addicts, and became a clinical director of another program, and that's where I met you both and Mel, and then I flourished into working specifically with sex addiction, and then Paulo and Tony knocked on my door and said, would you come work with us? And I said yes. And here we are. That's the work part.
You have 12 years sober as a sex and love addict. For those people that are unfamiliar for what that might mean in that recovery, because we know that in our recovery, we abstain from all mind-altering substances. What does that look like for you in your recovery as a sex and love addict being 12 years sober?
So, really good, very big question, because I think as clinicians, when people say, are you going to your first meeting, it's like, I'm never gonna be able to have sex again, or I'm never gonna be able to date again, or I'm never gonna be able to, but I wanna, and it's not that. So sex and love addiction is a process addiction. And so that's similar to food addiction, that's similar to shopping addiction, where you aren't taking away that behavior forever, because we need food, we need to spend money on things,
And we need sex.
and we need to have sex,
And we need to have love.
love, we need to connect. So
Intimacy.
it's it's about learning how to do those things in a healthy way. So when you say I'm 12 years sober, it's about I have learned how to do things in a healthy way. I've learned how to date in a healthy way. I've learned how to have sex in a healthy way. And healthy for me meant not getting into obsessions about a person, compulsions about finding someone, finding the right guy, sleeping with them right away, staying in really unhealthy relationships. That's for me. In my sex and love addiction, it was seeking someone, getting the validation, getting the affirmation, being told I'm amazing, being told I'm beautiful, being told I'm good at this, that, and the next thing. And then if I was in the relationship, things would happen that weren't healthy and I would stay. So
Is there a crossover with like kind of codependent behaviors with like sex and love addiction?
Yeah. So a lot of people who struggle with sex or love addiction tend to be codependent. And those traits that you're talking about that we look at is people who are rescuers, people who are people pleasers, don't know how to say no, say yes instead of no, make someone else's feelings their own feelings. So if a partner or even just a friend, it wasn't even just in relationships, if someone was having a bad day or if someone's upset or angry or frustrated, I had to be angry or frustrated, or I would be scared that it was because of me.
Or you would become the reason.
Like, oh my God, they're mad at me. Oh my God, they're upset with me. Oh, do they not like me? Are they going to leave me? Or are they not going to want to be with me anymore? And as fast as I'm talking now, your brain is running so quickly into, are they going to go? Are they going to hate? Are they cheating on me? Are they with someone else? Because the root of, well, my phrasing is the root of all addiction is the lack of self-love, is the lack of, knowing yourself, loving yourself. So when you're struggling with sex and love addiction, you don't feel lovable. You don't feel enough. You think that you're never going to have someone or you're always going to be alone.
Is fantasy part of that as well? Like you meet someone and then fantasy, like, oh, you start picturing the picket fence.
Oh, yeah.
Picking out the
Oh,
china.
So for me early on, deep in my addiction, I would meet someone I was hoping to meet Mr. Right. I was hoping to find the husband. I had this fantasy of being married by 28, first kid at 30, second kid at 32. I had this whole concept of what that was going to look like. And for me, if I went on a date with somebody, my fantasy would blow up of, oh my God, that went so well. Well, okay, so it's April. What if he's not Jewish and I am? So why don't we go home to my house and meet my parents and be Thanksgiving with my family? And then we'll go to his family for Christmas because I don't celebrate Christmas. And you'll create this whole storyline and you just had one date.
Right.
And there's nothing, less sexy than someone saying, "Hi, how are you? It's so good to see you." And
you want to come home for Christmas?
What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Totally.
Is there male pattern baldness in your family? You can't.
Why did you look at me when you said that?
No, I meant to look over
She's
this
literally
way.
like 60%.
So fantasy is a huge part, a huge part of love addiction. And I think the problem with this addiction, and this, not only is there stigma around it, there's so much lack of knowledge because it's so broad.
Right.
So with alcoholism, with drug addiction,
It's very targeted.
It's pretty, you can't drink anymore. You have an allergy to alcohol. You have a disease with alcohol or with drugs. And with sex or love addiction, my sex addiction looks very different than sex addicts I treat. Or, there are sex addicts that I might work with that are addicted to porn and masturbation. That is not an issue for me. That's not something that I get compulsively, obsessively engaged in. But
I think those are the two key words there, which is the
obsessive and compulsively engaged in, yes. So any addiction is something that you cannot stop thinking about doing and then compulsively doing to a point that it affects your life in a
And that's the part
way.
that I was going to say. I was working with a sponsee yesterday, and one of the things that came up is the concept of the difference between a recreational user and a drug addict, right? And recreational looks like someone, I would imagine, it looks like somebody that could potentially start on a Friday, have fun through Sunday morning, and put it in a closet or put it in a drawer and say, I have to go to work tomorrow, so I'm going to cook myself dinner, I'm going to clean my house, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and I'm going to go to work, and I don't pick it up for 2 months, right? Like, and
Yeah, and for me, when I work in substance use treatment centers, they look at me like I'm crazy because I'm a normie. I'm a normie when it comes to substances. I've never touched a drug in my life.
What's crazy is when we go to dinner with Jessica, I will sit there and watch her have half a glass of wine.
I've witnessed that too.
And at the end of dinner, we're getting up, and in my head, and I feel like I've actually said it out loud, like, you're not going to finish that?
Right.
She's
No.
like, no.
No, I don't have that.
But what I want to just quickly talk about that recreational thing, because you even said it, recreational drug use or alcohol use as an addict. You said it kind of like an addict, because as a normie, people that I know who use drugs recreationally, they're not starting on a Friday and stopping by a Sunday.
yeah.
That's like 3 days. Such an addict behavior.
Yeah.
A recreational person, like you just said, like if I'm gonna have a glass of wine at dinner, I'll have a glass of wine at dinner. Or yes, I do know people who recreationally will be at an outing or be, out with friends and might have a little bump of cocaine and one evening and that's it. They're not craving it.
Those
They
people
might not,
really exist.
those people
do.
exist.
They do.
I've never been one of those people because, again, I'm a goody two-shoes when it comes to drugs and alcohol. But I joke with my clients, if you put something else in front of me, I won't say the word on here because my father might listen to this later, I'm off to the races.
Right.
So it really, there are people some people are like that with food.
It could manifest itself with ice cream
Right,
or eating.
Amazon. I mean, like if you see something that just gets that dopamine for you that you cannot say, I need to stop this now. That's a problem. It can be working out. There are people who addictively work out. I am not one of those people.
So I want to backtrack a little bit because I often hear like sex and love addiction grouped together.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if we can just kind of differentiate between,
Totally.
and we talk a lot about chemsex on this podcast too. So like, what are some of the differences that you see as someone who helps people with sex and love addiction between like chemsex, sex addiction, and then love addiction?
Yeah.
Are they separate? Are they together?
They're completely separate and they can be together.
Okay.
It really is based on the person.
Right.
So you and I both know, because we both work with chemsex addicts so much, there will be chemsex addicts who cannot they cannot unfuse the drug from the sexual activity.
Right.
And we can say to them, we could even sort of tap into, we look at the love addiction piece of, are you trying to get a partner? What's that look like? And some people say, oh no, like I want nothing to do. The second we're done with the drugs,
I don't want
and
that
the
type of
activity,
relationship. Yeah.
I want them to leave.
Right.
Right. So there's, whether it's chemsex or sex addicts, the difference is, plainly on the quick way of explaining it, is that people who are just purely sex addicts want nothing to do with the emotional connection. They have actually more of an avoidant piece to the intimacy part of a relationship. So they may want to engage in sexual activity, whether that's sex with someone, maybe whether anonymous or not, a sex worker, porn and masturbation alone on their own.
Right.
Massage parlors with happy endings. Any of these activities are things that sex addicts may struggle with. The difference is that they don't want to engage with that person. They may not even need to know their name. It's whether they're paying for it or not, it's just have the activity, have the ritual of preparing for it, going to it, having it, and then get out of there.
Yeah.
With love addiction, the emotional connective piece is the piece that gets obsessive and compulsive. So someone who is a love addict, really, there's two main parts of love addiction. There's so many more, but
Right.
the biggest pieces that I see in people are people who are constantly seeking the high of new romance, which
The
is
limerence?
called limerence.
Yeah.
That's my
What's it
favorite
called?
word. Limerence.
Limerence.
Can you just
I'll
define
explain
that?
what
Yeah.
limerence is. So limerence is the neurochemical rush of new romance. So I call it the giddy giddy gumdrop yum yums in your belly, right? So when you meet someone new, could be on an app and you're swiping and they swipe back and you're texting and you're learning about each other.
the
Maybe
butterflies.
it's the butterflies. It's the newness. It's the first few dates. It's the first time having sex. It's the, oh my gosh, they're holding my hand. It's you wanting to talk on the phone. And I'm old, so talking on the phone till 4 a.m, not texting till 4 a.m. Getting really, really excited about someone, that's limerence. And as a relationship gets more serious, I use the reference, you start farting in front of one another, it gets more vulnerable, gets real, maybe even dropping some L-bombs, saying I love you to that person, or hey, what are we conversation. For someone who is really just about limerence or just about the newness, they're gonna go, whoa, I gotta go. This is, I don't need this, want this. So many love addicts are addicted to the limerence. Then you've got the love addicts like me who love the limerence and then love when it gets serious.
Let's reel it in.
Let's reel it in. Let's introduce you to mom and dad. Let's take you home. Let's hear all my friends. Let's pick out the wedding china. But that's when also a love addict may start seeing that they actually do have a problem with intimacy, that it gets too intense because most love addicts don't love themselves. They actually hate themselves. And they have a fear that this person's going to really get to know them. And they also start realizing the person that they chose there's stuff not great about them. So another trait about love addiction is that our pickers are off. Meaning we usually pick someone that is an addict themselves or is emotionally unavailable. They can't commit, or they don't want to commit, or that they have issues. So almost every serious relationship I've been in, most, not all, when I was in my addiction, there was an alcoholic, there was an unmedicated bipolar person, off and on his meds, and then there was a gambling sex addict. I stayed. So specifically with the gambling sex addict, he put me into $85,000 in debt.
Right.
My love addict stayed because I was so afraid of being alone. I was so afraid I'm never going to find someone again, so I have to stay. And I put up with it. So love addicts not only are looking for that limerence, but then are also going to end up putting up with detrimental, destructive, horrible things, abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, like cheating, all that kind of stuff.
Because the fear of the disconnection is kind of what leads the way. I see.
When people are abusing substances,
Yep.
Drugs or alcohol, it's sometimes very evident to their families
Yep.
that something's going on, something's off, they're just not right. Is it the same for sex and love addiction too? And how does that play out? Can you give us an example?
So that goes with kind of what Mel was bringing up with the codependency. So part of my high or part of my love addiction was to fix them. This was before I was a therapist.
Right.
So I would rescue and save these people. So if did you take your meds today? Did you go to a meeting? Let's set up a therapy session. Should we go to family therapy? You're out of money? I'll pay for it. No, I got it, babe. You'll do the next one. So it was constantly rescuing or saving them in some way because that was my way of getting my self-esteem. So if they did well, then I could feel good about myself.
Then
But
it
did
was
your-
reflected. Yeah.
But did your family know?
About my addiction?
Yeah.
No. I kept it a secret for a very long time. They didn't know. They probably, they knew about their relationships. They knew that my dad would say, honey, you're picking men with broken wings. But I would say, I once had a conversation with my dad, like, I have a broken wing too. That was my way to try and tell him I was an addict. They were the last to know, my family, because I was so afraid of judgment. I was afraid that they wouldn't understand. I was afraid that, the facade of perfect little angel, that I'm not perfect, but that I had it all together, that was something that they wouldn't understand, and I didn't want to not be understood.
How did
by
that
them.
make you feel when your father said you pick guys with broken wings? How did that make you feel? And then for you to say, I have a broken wing too, like that's so, as you're saying that, that's sort of like really touching my heart right now in a very sad way. How'd that make you feel when you heard that?
I felt this was years before I really sat down and said, I am an addict too. So this was long before that conversation. It was sort of my cry for help of like, see me, hear this, and he couldn't, and that's okay. I felt it like I knew that my dad was sort of like, you're choosing men that aren't good enough for you. And he couldn't quite understand why that was happening. And it actually was in reference, my mom died 15 years ago this year, and we were best friends. So that's another piece of my addiction. My addiction exploded when my mother died. And so a lot of that broken wing conversation was also about connecting the dots for my father about issues that I was just having around my mother being gone too.
Yeah.
And I think he alluded to that instead of seeing it as she has something wrong with her.
So one of the things that I wanted to bring up, which I think is that I'm seeing now that I'm hearing this, is there's a common thread between all addictions, which I'm hearing, which is usually shame. It's always a secret. It could be associated with unresolved trauma or grief and loss, and it manifests itself in one way or another for specific people as a maladaptive coping strategy is what it seems like it comes out as, right? So like even, with longer term sobriety for me, I know when I'm emotionally dysregulated when I start shopping.
Yeah.
I know that is my
Symptom.
Mine's Chinese food. When I want Chinese food, I'm not okay.
it's like there's that instant kind of like, wow, I need to buy something to feel better.
Yeah.
And being this self-aware and like working in the industry and being surrounded by beautiful clinicians that, have made this their life work, I've learned that like I can say like, hey, while it's not the healthiest coping strategy and it's very expensive, what is the behavior that I'm looking at?
Yeah.
Right. And when I am doing crystal meth, I don't have that clarity and that peace of mind to know that I'm doing it. I'm just self-medicating and using every excuse to act out. My parents kicked me out when I was 16. I don't fit in with the jocks. My hairline is receding, like whatever it is. And I could use that to then just excuse my behavior and my usage to just go on and on and on. But as you were talking, I was like, wow, whether it's sex, love, gambling, shopping, crystal meth, heroin, fentanyl, the root stem cause that I'm seeing is either unresolved trauma. You brought up your mom passing, it's guilt and shame, and it's really interesting that like we find these maladaptive coping strategies to try to figure out how to self-soothe.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's crazy.
Well, I was
Not crazy, ironic.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that when I've been, doing the work that I've done because my mom died almost 15 years ago, and I started getting sober 12 years ago. I was a sex and love addict when my mother was alive. I mean, I was living in Manhattan, and I was trying to find the husband. I was a pioneer on J-Date, by the way. I was one of the first. I should have been the poster girl. But when
J-Date is the
JewishDating.com.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anymore. When I talk about my addiction, and Mel's heard this story, I smiled when you said secrecy. And so for me, my addiction is it is enveloped in secrecy, because that's where for me, part of my big T trauma. It is not big T trauma. My trauma is teeny little t in comparison to what other people who struggle with all addiction, specifically sex and love addiction, go through. But for me, it was big T. But my T trauma was Here we go, everybody. This has never been done. I can't wait for people from Matamina, Minnesota to hear this. I grew up in a really small town. I grew up here in Los Angeles till I was 9, and then I moved to a teeny little town in Minnesota. And my sister and I, curly brunettes, Jewish, everyone knows Jewish kids living in LA, but when you move to a very teeny town in Minnesota, you were blonde, blue-eyed, straight-figured, and you either went to the Catholic Church or the Lutheran Church, and we did not fit in at all. So I worked really hard in middle school and high school to fit in and to feel part of. And I was curvier, I had a big personality, I was a singer-actor person, and I was in with the in crowd, but to be everyone's friend. I was not everyone. No, it wasn't like boys were lining up to date me or hook up with me or have me as their girlfriend. And so the secrecy came up in senior year of high school. I was engaging with a guy who was best friends with my best friend's boyfriend. And the four of us would hang out a lot. And he did not want to be my boyfriend. He was like, no, we're really good friends. We would talk on the phone till 3 or 4 in the morning. We would make out. It was all of that, but he refused to say, yes, Jessica Steinman is my girlfriend and we were together. He would come up with every excuse in the book to not let it happen. And no one was allowed to know about us. So no one in our school, except for our 2 best friends, knew we were hooking up, knew that what was going on.
You were kind of closeted.
It was closeted.
I was about to say, it sounds very reminiscent.
He would say, I drove, he couldn't. He said, meet me in the church parking lot.
Not
and
the church parking lot.
Come on.
Oh, we would St. Andrews. We would walk over to the church parking lot to go into my car to drive off to wherever we would go.
Oh, so not to hook up in the parking lot.
No, not hook up in the car, that I would drive somewhere. But that started this secret, this seed of you're kept a secret. You are a secret. You are not lovable or enough to be publicized. And so it went on for a few months. I ended it. I said, this is hard. It started hurting my feelings. His excuse was, I don't want a girlfriend for senior year. 2 weeks later, he had a girlfriend.
Oh, man.
So that was a wound, right? That's an attachment wound. That is a wound that sent messaging for me of you're not good enough, pretty enough, thin enough, whatever enough. And I went to college into Manhattan with this messaging and tried to find every man that would tell me I was enough to do anything with. And that secrecy was a huge theme in my addiction. Keeping men secret, being someone else's partner. Part of my addiction was, yes, I was cheating on relationships, specifically one. And I did so in my workplace. That's another very common theme and trait of sex and love addicts, is to find romance, excitement in the workplace. Goes with my secrecy theme. It's not okay. It's not allowed.
Yeah.
It's risky.
Right. Ups the ante.
You could get fired. You could get caught. Another big high for me was having men who were married or in relationships. Because when I was deep in my addiction, I can't believe I'm sharing this, it's great. They would, if they chose me, that meant I must be really lovable. I must be really beautiful. If they're willing to put their life at risk for me.
This is a no matter what club exclusive.
This is hot tea.
I have a question around this, because I think with
That's
substance use, we can really see what a bottom looks like.
Yeah.
Right? Like it is pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
But with love addiction or even codependency, like
Where's the bottom?
Where's the bottom? Like,
My bottom was calling an acting out partner when I was in a relationship to meet up. I called him 24 times in a row.
got it. Okay.
And he wasn't picking up his phone. And the anxiety inside of me was, where is he? What is he doing? What is he going to do? Why isn't he answering? And it was this similar to, I can imagine from knowing through my clients, when am I going to get my next hit? Where's my dealer? Why isn't he picking up?
So you start to fiend.
You're fiending, you're jonesing, you're craving, and he did pick up 3 times. He picked up. His girlfriend that I did not know existed picked up.
Oh,
And then the last pickup was, if you call me one more time, I'm going to ruin your effing life. And the next day I went to my first meeting.
there you go.
So that for me was my bottom.
Yeah.
This constant juggling of multiple relationships and multiple I love yous, I miss yous, I can't wait to be with you text messages that truly, for me in the addiction, meant so much, but the person meant nothing to me, was because for me, I felt so much self-hatred. I needed to hear from literally anyone and everyone that I was lovable,
To be okay.
to be okay, to get through my day. And that's from the grief of my mother, because my mother, God love her, we were
person.
enmeshed.
Yeah.
Right.
We were completely too close. We were best friends. We talked 5 times, 6 times a day. It was not healthy. I didn't have any boundaries. And when she died, I was 29. I didn't know how to be a grown-up. I didn't know how to love myself. My mom loved me enough for me. I didn't have to love myself. So when she died, the addiction exploded to infidelity and cheating and things that were putting me in really crazy situations emotionally and in my workplace, because I just needed to hear you're loved, you're hot, you're beautiful, you're blah, 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 because I wasn't getting it from myself and I wasn't getting it from my mom.
Right.
And it exploded. And then I had to get my ass into a room. And I got into that uncomfortable metal folding chair on Hollywood and Gardner.
I love Hollywood and Gardner.
We love
Yeah.
Hollywood and Gardner.
How did you know where to look?
I didn't. I knew because I was starting school. I was starting my grad program, and I had a gambling sex addict boyfriend who I was taking to GA.
Got it. So you
So
knew the
I
A's
knew of
existed.
12-step.
Yeah.
I knew of what to do. I just didn't want to do it for myself. And so I knew of sex and love addiction. I just wasn't ready to bite the bullet. I went into my rooms with this relationship.
Wow.
He did not know. He knows now. When he gives me my $85,000 back, we can be even. But, but no, I knew to look it up. I looked up meetings. I went to a meeting in Santa Monica. I hated it. It was cliquey. And I thought, oh shit, what am I going to, but I didn't do what a lot of our clients do. What a lot of clients, they go into a meeting, if they don't like it, they don't go back.
Right.
And I kept going back because I truly was desperate. And I went in and felt loved and good and took a commitment, got a sponsor, and did it. And then ended the unhealthy relationship 6 months later. It took me 6 months to realize, like,
Yeah.
oh, right, you're part of that too.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then I started really doing the digging into the work. Yeah.
So when we say, like, you know, in the rooms, they say, like, this is an outside issue. Did you have a therapist as well at
Had
the
a
same
therapist.
time you were doing?
Always had a therapist.
Yeah.
She was also part of the bottom because when I was with this relationship, even though I was cheating and even though he was cheating and gambling, we were both so unhealthy. I was also planning what our wedding would look like because, again, love addiction. And
Right.
she said, and I was thinking about when we would have kids. And my therapist, God love her, and she was my New York therapist because I hadn't switched yet from moving here to LA. She turned to me on Skype, not Zoom, it didn't exist yet, on Skype and said, "You're a drunk."
Oh.
And I was like, it hurt. I was like,
Yeah.
and that was the other sort of, oh, fuck. It really, what are you going to raise
It's
your kids? in it?
intoxicating,
It
those
was-
type of relationships. And
God.
it's similar to like alcohol, so that makes perfect sense.
I was high.
Yeah.
I was high all the time. Emotionally, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, high. And I was just functioning through life that way. But to have this person who I trusted so much, my therapist, say, "You're a drunk," with this sort of, God love her, bless her for doing it, disdain. This like, you need to stop talking that way. was powerful.
Wow. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So we see this a lot within the chemsex world as well, that sex and love and crystal meth and sex are often tied. How in treating that, like if we look at like, you know, I mean, obviously each case is different and everybody needs, you know, their own treatment plan, but like the commonalities between these, all of these things, I don't even know what question I'm getting to, but it's just very common.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of these things are really rooted in intimacy, you know, like a disorganization of relationships and intimacy, like whether you're a sex addict and you're the avoidant, or a love addict and you run rather anxious, but it's all this threat and fear of disconnection from intimacy. And I think chemsex addicts, sex addicts don't even want to touch it because they're so afraid of like actual intimacy, while my experience with love addicts is like, I'm so afraid of losing this intimacy connection. So it's really kind of, its foundations are rooted in relationships and intimacy, and learning how to work through those. And those are often found in our closest friendships. So that work is, you know, done with a therapist who's a secure attachment, or with close friends that there's no love or sex involved in those relationships. So you're able to kind of skill build around intimacy itself, and across the board. Everyone needs that skill building if you are recovering in sex and love.
Yeah.
Like you need intimacy skill building.
And then throw crystal meth in the picture,
Oh,
God, forget
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know, with
The euphoria that crystal meth is giving to someone to, yes, connect with the sex, but if someone does have some love addict stuff going on in their addiction, and you're mixing the meth with that, the euphoria of that partner,
Right.
you know, and the two chemsex addicts together with that, I mean, we're adding in a third fusion.
That's right.
or trauma bonding.
Trauma bonding, yeah.
And it's always like, you know, and these experiences, especially for chemsex addicts, they feel so intense and so real in the moment. And it's breaking through of like, I understand that felt so real for you, but it's also not true. Right. And like breaking through that experience of like, yes, I'm honoring that was a real connection for you in the moment. And for a lot of chemsex addicts, I find that is the only place that they have experienced like deep connection or deep intimacy. Granted, it's drug driven. So I don't want to like take away from that, but I also want to pull to the point of like, that is not a truth on the other side of using.
Right.
They're not calling you. They're not checking in on you. You're not going out on dates. So there's the delusion and the illusion of real bonded intimacy versus actual intimacy in reality.
And another thing that happens that I think we all see, especially anyone that's worked in or been in a treatment center, is the lovely thing we call rehab romance.
Oh,
Right? So when you're sex and love addiction, specifically love addiction, is incredibly common as a cross addiction when you're getting sober from drugs and alcohol. So we'll have clients or just people in meetings that you'll see, you don't even have to be in a rehab, where if someone's getting sober off drugs and alcohol, their next go-to is to get on a dating app or to get on a hookup app or to, you know, 13th stepping that's a phrase, and we all know it, but when you're in a 12-step room and you start flirting with someone as a newcomer in a 12-step meeting, that 13th stepping is like you're flirting and getting into a relationship with someone that really should not be engaging in flirting and relationships. So they're going to this high with their dopamine and their oxytocin. They're not getting it from drugs and alcohol anymore, so they're going to go to relationships. So we see people wanting to hook up with each other that they've met in their sober living, or they've met in their treatment center, or met at their meeting. And the thing is that I've had groups where I've led sex and love addiction groups at treatment centers that I've worked at, where I think of one guy in particular who came in. You were just talking about the realness of it. He came in, I met someone last night, you guys, and he was 1,000% real. I think I'm in love with her. Like this, she's it. She's the one. When you're a sex and love addict, specifically the love addict, you really have no idea what grounded reality, true, intimate feelings about someone, what that is. And so this person was like, we have everything in common, that Like it becomes very adolescent, right? It reminds me of middle school or junior high, where you like someone, like we like the same band and we have this, our favorite colors are the same. I think this person really gets me. It's like having commonalities and having connection, trauma bonding, doesn't mean that this person's the one. But again, a love addict is going to have this really big, very over the top, I really think I love them.
Right.
And the part that you spoke about, and then I want to shoot over to Tony, the part that you spoke about with that is like, that's actually the chemicals in the brain.
Yes, it's the oxytocin specifically.
Wow.
Oxytocin is the love chemical in our brain.
Huh.
So
Chemical con job.
yes, it's you truly can be looking at someone or in bed with someone and just like, wow, they're really, this is it. And ignoring, I call it tunnel vision. You're just ignoring all the other red flags, things that just really are not good and not healthy, because you're high.
Yeah. I had a question. Do you feel like what we're talking about, the apps create like this sense of enriching this behavior for people that are experiencing guilt and shame?
Sure. You know, I think just the validation piece alone is you're looking for something outside yourself to validate you, whether it's a like, a swipe, you know, whatever the kids are doing these days with the flame, you know.
Or the not so kids.
It's kind of like, tell
The
me
sort
I'm
of
pretty, tell me I'm
everybody's.
pretty.
Right,
Yeah.
and you know that just
Yeah.
kind of feeds into that addiction side thing. One thing I was going to ask was, I know at No Matter What Recovery, we have a chemsex curriculum, and we also do love and sex addiction too as well. What does that look like for, you know, people who are watching or listening right now? What would that curriculum look like for the love and sex addiction side? Is it strictly a processing group, or is it education? Is it a little bit of both? Tell me what it looks
It's
like.
absolutely both. Well, you know, you mentioned with the apps about validation. I tell people, you know, the 12-step group that's really going to be helpful if someone is willing to really dive in and do it is SLAA, right? It's Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. I wish they'd take the L out, right? I actually want to call it SVAA. It really does become, love addiction really isn't about love. It's about validation. It's about someone, this person is validating me. This person is swiping right on me. This person is choosing to spend time with me on a date, on a call, in a text. They are thinking about me. Whatever that is, that's validation. That's affirmation. So it can feel like and love, but you're really just seeking someone to say, you're cute, you're lovable, you're okay.
It's kind of like this like pick me culture,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
and I'm always trying to move people from the pick me girl state, right, of I want to be chosen, into actually being the chooser.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
like who gets access to you and setting boundaries
Yeah.
around that is so important.
Well, yeah, and like, well,
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to talk about, the reason I'm bringing that up is that a lot of our curriculum is about how can I validate myself?
Right.
How can I, as cliche as this sounds, I tell people all the time, you got to love yourself. Well, that's a huge undertaking, and it's going to take a lot more than 60 or 90 days in an outpatient to learn to love yourself. But it's starting to look at where the messaging has come that you don't like yourself. What is that? What are those messages? What are those negative core beliefs that are going on? And how can we quiet them? We are not going to erase them. We can't do that in a short period of time. It takes a long time to do that. But we're quieting that noise, and we're adding, you know, affirmative, esteemable building work in the curriculum. We're looking at how to turn off those cognitive distortions of if someone is not, you know, looking at you a certain way or responding a certain way, that, oh, that means they hate me or they don't like me. Like, no, we're not going to do that. So it is a lot of CBT. It is a lot of
CBT
cognitive behavioral therapy. So we've got to do some actual tools and skills-based therapy to look at how to just calm yourself down, how to get out of those thoughts, how to stop them from spinning out. It's a lot of regulating your emotions. It's a lot of building self-esteem. It's a lot of education. I do come from a background in psychodynamic therapy, which we don't do a ton of, but we have to do a little bit. And that's where I call it archaeology. You're going back into the past. You're looking at what happened. Where did this attachment wound start?
What are the patterns?
What are the patterns? Where have I continued to do these things in the secrecy or in the, choosing to rescue and save someone instead of myself? When did I start telling myself I was ugly? When did I start telling myself I wasn't lovable? And trying to also heal those inner child moments. You got to know what happened to that inner child.
With the sex apps and the dating apps, I feel like we can also extend that to just Facebook and Instagram and
all the things.
the other social
all
media,
social
because
media.
going back to the validation part, I think a lot of it is there too.
It's the likes. It's the, I only got a thumbs up, not a heart. I
Right.
mean,
I have a sponsee who I can always tell when something is a little bit off because they start posting more on social media, and it's more of like the the
attention seeking.
The thirst traps.
Thirst traps,
Yeah.
and it's attention seeking. It's I had a client who is doing great, but when they were in a treatment center with me and I was their therapist, they said to me, at times they would wear really provocative mini skirts and things like that, high heels, and then other times they would wear very just sort of basketball clothes. They they're just sporty, and they said to me, when you see me in my basketball gear and sports clothes, I'm actually feeling really good about myself. I'm doing really well because they love basketball, they love sports. When you see me in the mini skirts and crop tops and things like that, you need to check in on me. And that I loved that they were able to come to a place of understanding that self-awareness didn't stop the behavior, but the awareness is huge.
My crop top is really just because it's hot out right now.
I am living for your
And
crop
my mini
top.
We
skirt
love
right
your
now.
crop top.
My husband is in his crop top era right now, and I'm living for it. As we
He's
begin
thirst
to
trapping.
wrap up, one of the things that I really wanted to say is thank you so much for the light that you both have brought to No Matter What Recovery and our organization, and both of you have been instrumental in providing clinical excellence in from what we see in the field, and you both have your specialties and you oversee different parts of our program, and we collaborate, and we get the honor and privilege of being on 17 calls a day with each other. And I'm just so grateful for the beautiful team that we have at No Matter What Recovery, and for the work that we're doing in the community. And thank you for being an ally for the queer population.
Thank you.
Where we're at as queer individuals is, for me, I know that we've, as a community, have been through similar times in the past, but for me, it's the one where I can really think of where I'm scared to walk down the street sometimes. And so with that, having allies in our corner means the world to me and to us and to our clients and our milieu, and so I just want to say thank you.
I'm proud to be an ally. I'm proud to have a beautiful gay sister and sister-in-law and uncle and friends and family members and loved ones and clients, and having even been a little bi-curious once upon a time too.
Really?
We didn't go there.
We have about 10 more
Hey!
minutes. We just extended the time now.
But I think that there are a lot of voices, especially queer voices, that don't get to be heard. So as an ally, I'm going to use my very, very big, loud voice to support my queer siblings.
I was just talking to Paulo, I think, before we started recording about the importance of allyship in the community. Because I can fight for myself in rooms that I'm in, but the allies are the ones that fight for me in rooms that I'm not in.
Yep.
And that is
Yep.
so important, especially weaving the fabric of equality. And like, you know, I'm noticing your shirt says "We the People." That's a we statement, right? And the more we have the we involved, the better off it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
I love that. I think that it's just so beautiful. And then to have you as a trailblazer in the field of behavioral health, working with us in our organization, and again, providing clinical excellence and overseeing our team with Mell. You guys are just doing great work, and I'm so happy for everything that we've done. And the other thing that I love that you brought to the table is you built out the family program that we haven't.
Families
no matter
are
what.
important. Families are important.
Why is it important to heal a family system simultaneously at the time that the designated loved one is working on themselves for substance abuse and mental health?
Well, if family members and loved ones can't look at how they handle, tolerate, feel about how they communicate to the loved one who's struggling with addiction, that loved one is going to continue to struggle. So it's a whole family dynamic that needs to be looked at. The person who struggles with addiction is not the problem. There's multiple concerns and things that contribute to someone not loving themselves, to a parent or a loved one making it about them, or they're trying to fix that person, or causing, contributing, shaming. So we have to, our family group that we offer, it does allow a safe space for the families to share absolutely everything and anything they need to say and feel. So they're also not doing it towards their loved one who, quite frankly, may not be well enough to hear and hold that. And we just allow a space to process a lot of things. We look at the rescuing and saving that a loved one does. I, of course, focus a lot on that because that was part of my problem, is I wanted to rescue and save my partners or people instead of actually looking at what it was doing for me and how to just focus on myself and love myself. So I'm trying to work with the families on, I'm not calling the family members addicts. It's not about that. It's just about what are you feeling, and can you feel and process this for yourself and not make it about your loved one? And we do a lot of work around that.
And then boundaries is a huge part of that
Boundaries is a huge
conversation.
one.
And it's a huge shift in the whole system, right? I
Yeah.
always look at the people who ask for help or who come into treatment. Like, you are the break in the pattern, right? You are the break in the dynamic. And like, we need to treat both, right? Because this person will go back into a dynamic that is unhealthy unless the family is also getting help that they need.
That's right.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, for people who are listening, we don't just automatically go to a client's family and say, join this family group. Tell our listeners
You have
and viewers
to be in this. So we
how
allow,
we go about that.
It's an
any
offering.
family member we offer. We have a week, every other week we do a group with me, or our program manager Jack, who comes on here often. So Jack or I run this family group, and so anyone who has, we ask if they have family members or loved ones that want to be involved. If it's someone that might be their emergency contact or someone that they've filled a release of information out while they're in treatment with us, they can participate in the group. And
Or a partner.
Loved one or partner. Once they are in the group, they can stay in the group. So someone might graduate from our program and move on to other things. Their family member can still be in our family group. But it's something that we're just going to continually build on because A, they're going to always need support, and B, a family member or loved one or partner that's been on the group for a while might be able to be of help and service to someone whose loved one just started that week. And so it can help just continued support for everybody.
And it obviously remains confidential. No names
Yeah.
are mentioned.
Everything's
It's
confidential.
It's just a service for family members, because when our participants come from across the country, for a short amount of time and have to go back home and go back to work and navigate life and be back in the neighborhood that they were using in and be back around the same things, we want them to be able to go to a somewhat ideally healed family system so that they can, I mean, we're everyone in this room agrees addiction is a family disease.
Yep.
It's not a one person that has to carry that load. And so we believe that no matter what recovery, and y'all have both been instrumental in developing this program, is that we got to heal the system.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
I think the education too is really important for
Yeah.
the families too, because a lot of times
Yeah.
they don't know
right.
what it's like.
They don't.
You know,
They don't.
and so for the client, it kind of helps ease the pressure a little bit for them to have to explain like what it's like to go through sobriety and
Yeah.
recovery. And you know, we have our trained clinicians, our
Yeah.
expert clinicians, to kind of review that information with the families.
Jess, can I ask you what's your no matter what?
Oh,
I forgot this part. Yay! I'm going to do it on the spot. I stay sober no matter what. No matter what is happening around me, I have to stay sober for myself, for my family, for my daughter, and so I can continue to teach her how to love herself. So it's really just no matter what, I'm going to just for her and for the family
And do the work.
and do the work and love myself.
so you can hear more happy birthday dances
That's right.
in the morning.
My daughter
It was
likes to
Jessica's
sing
birthday
it.
recently.
And my daughter said, "Alexa, play Happy Birthday to Mommy."
That was so cute.
It was
Best
so
birthday
cute.
present of
Dork.
my life. Yes.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank
and
you
thank
for
y'all for
having
joining
me.
as always. And to our listeners, please like and subscribe, follow us on socials, and we can't wait to see you next week on the No Matter
No Matter
What
What
Club.
Club.
Pod.